Hello again. It's Mary Beth Nolde, the Worship Arts Team Leader for the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Waynesboro. I am happy to greet you and welcome you to our, hopefully, last virtual Sunday service today. If all goes as planned, we will be back in person next Sunday, the 14th, at 10:30 a.m. in our building on Pine Avenue in Waynesboro. Our fellowship is one that welcomes everyone, regardless of their faith, beliefs, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Please join us today and next Sunday in person with a mask on for now. Love is the theme for today. As I have been thinking of this very broad topic, it seemed good to think about the idea of love for our fellow man, especially in these turbulent times of the pandemic, of social justice needs, and political turmoil. Two quotes were revealed to me as appropriate for today. The first one is from Mahatma Gandhi, and it goes like this: "Where there is love, there is life." Gandhi spent his life caring for his fellow man, no matter who they were or what they believed. And from this quote, you can tell that love was very important to him and meant that life was present when there was love. The second quote is from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and I know you're familiar with this one. "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." It feels today as if there is darkness all around us, from something as simple as someone stealing a political sign out of my yard because they disagreed with it, to violent words in school board meetings, to actual physical violence in so many other places. And yet, King and Gandhi both call on us to love, because that is where we find life and light. Words from Don Cooley will take us to the lighting of our chalice, our light in the darkness of today. Abundance. We light our chalice this morning, grateful for the love that we experience in our beloved community. May the flame light the way for all to see such abundance.
Our words of prayer today are written by Wayne Arneson. O God, whom we know as love, we gather here this morning as seekers and finders, creators and destroyers, givers and receivers of love. From the day of our birth, we have asked for love, and yet as we grow and change in time, we realize how little we really know, how little we really know about how love is given, how to grow within its nurture. Help us to recognize the love that surrounds us and in which we have our being. Help us to understand how we can be perfect channels for that love. Help us to see ourselves as the loving people we are and that we can be. We bring to our mind's eye the people who have loved us and continue to love us. People whose love we carry with us. People who are there every day and whose love we sometimes take for granted. People who might be within our circle of love, could we but just extend it a little further. We hold these people in our hearts. And we ask that our hearts may be open to all whose names and faces have crossed our minds. We ask that old wounds may be healed, that constant joys may be celebrated, and that the love we share with the people in our lives may be our abiding teacher. Though we are still this one last Sunday together only virtually, and so we are not hearing the joys and sorrows of those around us, we know that within this congregation there are many joys and sorrows that remain unspoken today. Let us hold them in our hearts together in a quiet time.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is a great covenant. This is a great covenant. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Love is the spirit. Love is the spirit. Love is the spirit of this church. This church.
Give All to Love by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Give all to love, obey thy heart. Friends, kindred, days, estate, good fame, plans, credit, and the muse, nothing refuse. 'Tis a brave master, let it have scope. Follow it utterly, hope beyond hope. It was never meant for the mean, it requireth courage stout, souls above doubt, valor unbending, it will reward. They shall return more than they were, and ever ascending. Love Abundant by Alicia B. Ford. I lift my eyes to the hills. From where will my help come? My help comes from love abundant. My help comes from the hills. My help, it comes from ancient mothers whose heart beat in mine. It comes from the trees that sway and the breeze that sways them. My help comes from all that was and is and will ever be. I lift my eyes, hushed by the soothing tones of waves caressing wounded shores, wounded souls. I lift my eyes to the horizon, bathed by the hum of mothers and mothers' mothers, cradling, gently rocking. I lift my voice, call of the sea, trees, sister moon, mother earth, my soul weeping, a symphony of life overflowing. I give myself. I too hum through every pore. With every breath I give myself an extension of all that is and was and ever will be.
Immortal love, forever full, forever flowing free, forever sure, forever whole, a never-ending sea. Our outward lips confess the name, all other names above, but love alone knows whence it came, and comprehendeth love. Blow winds of love, awake and blow the mists of hate away. Sing out, O truth divine, and tell how wide and far we stray. The letter fails, the systems fall, and every symbol wanes. The Spirit overseeing all, eternal love remains.
As I have mentioned before in a variety of contexts, I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian tradition. Preachers in that particular tradition were really concerned about the precise differences between words that they found important in the New Testament's original Greek. And I couldn't help but thinking of this when I settled on today's topic, love. Because from an early age, I learned that where the English language has the word love, one word, ancient Greeks had a whole lot more. 4 of them made it into the Bible, but there were at least that many more that never made it into Christian scripture. Those ancient words aren't that important to us today as words because we don't speak Greek, most of us. And those who do speak Greek would most likely speak a modern form of Greek, which uses a different array of words. But from that old array of words, words from different cultures and different times, we can separate out important concepts that are sometimes hidden to us within that single word, love. Among them are idealized love, in which the good of the other is the aim. Erotic, sexual, passionate love. The affectionate love of friends. The committed allegiance of members of a family or a tribe, a clan, a nation. Obsession. Playful or flirtatious love, self-love, hospitality and its rituals of acceptance and honor, a natural inclination toward love's object, loving kindness, devotion, praise. We tend not to see obsession as a good thing today because of the way it is controlling and takes away the agency of the other. But all the rest of these in this list of assembled meanings of love are good and life-affirming. We would rightly celebrate them, but not all of them are the focus, the core, perhaps, of this or any other religion. So what are we Unitarian Universalists talking about when we use the covenantal words of James Villa Blake? Words we heard in song earlier. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Or similar words arranged from a multitude of sources by J. Griswold Williams. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. Both of these historical covenants, now old in the rearview mirror, are nonetheless included in the readings at the back of our gray hymnal. And though we do not recite them in our services, they still can speak to us from our past, even if some of the words we might choose to think of differently or arrange differently. They speak of the things we find important in our congregations and in our assembly, even today. In 2004, the Reverend Jason Shelton, who is known more widely for his music ministry than for his parish ministry, wrote a song of commitment that is in our teal hymnal, Standing on the Side of Love, in response to voices of people with disability and a growing awareness of ableism within our tradition and in the larger society. He later changed the title phrase to Answering the Call of Love. In 2004, it was written in support of the growing movement working toward marriage equality in this country. At that time, that goal seemed very distant still. In its original setting, being on the side of love for straight and cisgender people meant being an ally of LGBTQ+ people seeking the universal right for marriage under the law, not to be restricted in ways that excluded the possibility of marrying the one you love. But by the time of our association's General Assembly in Salt Lake City in 2009, the song had come to be accepted as standing for justice generally, rather than only the search for justice that had originally motivated the words marriage equality. At General Assembly that year, the Standing on the Side of Love Action Group was promoted as a way of organizing locally and nationally for justice. They made t-shirts and signs and bumper stickers, and many times in many congregations, people from the Unitarian Universalist congregations became known as the people who showed up with their orange t-shirts that said, Standing on the Side of Love. And like the song's change of language to Answering the Call of Love, the justice organizing effort got a name change as well to Side with Love, with the same intention, the same basic meaning, but broadening the expression to broaden that sense of inclusion and taking seriously the concerns of Unitarian Universalists with disabilities. The board of the Unitarian Universalist Association, in issuing its charge to the new Article 2 Study Commission, which is currently doing its work, shared with that commission a meditation on love for the commission to hold in mind as they considered what revisions they may recommend in our principles, sources, and purpose statement that are part of the association's bylaws. Here is an excerpt from that meditation. We assert that our deepest common theological grounding and value is this: love. We find it peeking through the words of the current existing principles. We see it in our insistence on the worth and dignity of every person, and the calls by some that this insistence needs to extend to all other beings as well. We see it in the call for demanding and embodying justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. We hear it in our urging of acceptance of one another and our support for each other's personal spiritual growth. We discern an accountable love in our call for a responsible search for truth and meaning, our affirmation of the right of conscience and the right of every individual to participate in shaping those institutions that govern them displays a deep respect for the love of every person. We hold up the goal of a peaceful, free, and just world community as an expression of what love can and should bring into being. And we believe that our call to respect the interdependent web that we are a part of is an articulation of love for all that is and our own place and role in that web. We see love called out as what demands that we be active in our justice work and justice making. We respond to the call of love because it is our common theological core. It is what can and does motivate us and illuminates our deepest commitments to each other. Love is not a belief, but it entails and ultimately requires us to incline ourselves toward action. Love requires us to act. Love that is only felt and not acted on to bring about a greater inclusion and a more caring, more just world is not what is at stake here. In ancient Christian words, faith without works is dead. In parallel, love that does not lead to a better world within our scope of possibility would be a hollow, empty love. So in benediction today, I offer words on love from my colleague, Dawn Fortune. My theology understands humanity as simultaneously fragile and resilient, weak and strong, greedy and generous, mean and compassionate. I see the divine spark in the tension between these opposites. I see the divine in the generosity of those who often have the least to give, in kindness offered to those who would arguably have the most reason to be bitter. The divine is like love in this regard, irrational, unexpected, and beautiful. Amen and blessed be. Go in peace, go with love, and I hope to see you all for our return service back in our fellowship hall next Sunday November 14th.